There are scents that can bring a lifetime rushing back, scents that carry memory better than any photograph. For me, that scent is beef broth simmering in the middle of the night. Fragrance of cinnamon, ginger, and charred onion that smells like home, like childhood, and like my father. That scent is him. Hi there. You're listening to Letters from Little Saigon, a place where every story is a letter from the heart, written with memory, longing, and the quiet love we carry across oceans. Tonight, I want to share with you The Midnight Broth, a story about a Vietnamese father in Westminster, California, who spent 30 years waking up before dawn to make faux broth. Not for money, but for love, for pride, and for a simple belief: a good broth is the soul of a faux shop and of a family. I was born in California, in a small apartment behind a strip mall on Bolsa Avenue. While my friends grew up with the smell of pizza and pop songs on the radio, my childhood was filled with the scent of star anise and beef bones simmering slowly in the night. My father owned a little faux shop called Pha Saigon Nam Vung. It sounded grand, but it only had 8 tables and a sign faded by the California sun. Every morning at 3 a.m., my father woke up, not to go to work, but to start the broth. I once asked my mother, "Doesn't Dad get tired waking up so early?" She smiled. "Of course he does, but people don't just eat his pho, they taste his heart in every bowl." I didn't understand then. But some nights, when I got up for a drink of water, I'd see the light from the kitchen spilling under the door and smell the sweet, rich steam of the broth. My father would be sitting on a small plastic chair, stirring slowly, listening to the Vietnamese radio that played late-night news or love songs from Saigon. He never spoke, but sometimes I saw him nod slyly as if agreeing with memories only he could hear. By 7 a.m., the shop would open. Every weekend, people from all over Westminster came in families. Old couples, workers in uniforms, young men in suits. Everyone had their favorite order: rare beef, tendon, brisket, or no onions, please. My father stood behind the counter, ladling broth into bowls with practiced grace. He always leaned in to listen to the sound of the broth as it poured, as if the pot itself was speaking to him. When customers said, "Your pho is the best," he would smile and say, "Thank you." The broth does the work, but I knew the broth was him. One busy Sunday, I helped wash dishes because the shop was packed. My father didn't stop cooking for 6 hours straight. When the last customer left, I asked, "Dad, why don't we hire someone to help?" He wiped his hands and said softly, "It's easy to hire people, Ken Gay, but hard to keep love in every bowl." That day, he fell asleep at the table, his hands still smelling faintly of charred ginger. And even in his sleep, he smiled as if the broth was still simmering somewhere inside him. Time passed faster than I thought. I went to college in San Diego, then started working in Los Angeles. The visits home became less frequent, but every time I drove back to Westminster, I could smell the shop before I even saw it. That familiar scentage, warm and gentle, pulled me back to who I was. Then one day, my mother called and said, "Your dad doesn't cook as much anymore. His hands are getting weaker. Uncle T helps now." I froze. I was scared that one day the broth would stop boiling. I went home that weekend. It was raining. The shop was closed, the chairs stacked up. I found my father sitting by the stove, a small light glowing above him. He looked up and smiled. "Long time no smell the broth, huh?" I nodded. My throat tightened. He stirred the pot slowly and said, "I'm afraid one day people won't remember this smell anymore. In America, You can buy pho in a box, or instant noodles that taste almost the same. But the broth made at midnight, by hand, by memory, by love that can't be replaced. I couldn't speak. I just held his hand rough, warm, trembling, slightly. The steam fogged the kitchen window, and in that moment, surrounded by the scent of cinnamon and charred onion, I realized something. Love has a smell. And for me, it will always smell like my father's broth, simmering in the dark. You've been listening to the Midnight Broth, a letter from Little Saigon where every bowl of pho carries not just flavor, but memory, not just spice, but sacrifice. If this story reminds you of Sawana father, a mother, or anyone who once stayed up late for your dreams, send this story to them. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, please like, share, and subscribe to Letters from Little Saigon, because every episode is a quiet letter from those who left home. To those who still remember, Letters from Little Saigon, every story is a simmering pot of memory. Thank you for listening.